All right.
Well, hello, Brian. Thank you so much for joining us on the GP Chamber Chats. We're very excited to talk to you today, and we're talking bikes, like you just said, right?
Yeah.
Always ready to talk about bikes. So tell us about the origins of the Grosse Pointe Pedalers. Like, what are you guys? How did it start?
The beginning of it, really, I had nothing to do with. I just showed up to the first ride, but a lot of work was done beforehand by Katie Cisnowski and Andrew Casaza and Carlos Brego. They had actually worked with the chamber to come up with the conceptual idea of, what's something different that we can do to get people out of the house on a Wednesday or any one particular day of the week. And the three of them had came up with the idea. And I noticed it in the Grosse Pointe news, and I figured, what? I've been a rider for a while. I reached out to Carlos, and Carlos had known that I was a rider, or a cyclist, I should say. And he said, yeah, it'd be really great to have you along. It'd be good to have, somebody that's been riding a bit more. And I have been riding with groups for a few years. And the very first ride, it was a day not too different than today. It was snowy.
Oh my.
It was very cold. It was an absolutely ridiculously bad day to go out for a bike ride, but like 25 people showed up.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it was really awesome. And right from the gate, we realized that there was a few things that we wanted to do to push it a little bit further. And Carlos was a really good, strong leader the first year of it. And fortunately for him, he ended up picking up a great new job, and he had to move out of town. But he had already basically created the foundation of how the ride format was going to be and how they were going to do things going forward. And we since then have augmented, changed just a couple of things, but overall we've really kind of kept it the same.
So tell us about that. So how is the format? What is involved with the rides? What is it kind of, if someone wanted to get involved, what does this look like for them?
Well, really the format of the ride is that it's a social fun thing to do. We get together usually the first Wednesday of April and all the way through every single Wednesday until the last Wednesday of October. Mm-hmm. So as you wind up with about 24 to 25 rides a year, and sometimes we'll add one in on the weekends as well. And I think really it just comes down to we get together for about a half hour or so. We chit chat. People get to catch up with neighbors, friends, and whatnot that they've seen every single week. And we meet at a different business typically. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we would use that as a moment to maybe showcase the business. Sometimes it was for a little bit more of a selfish needs or desires where we wanted to go somewhere and enjoy that establishment and their business. But it was a great way to get people to come together, do something fun in the middle of the week, the worst day of the week, Wednesday, in my opinion. I love Mondays, but Wednesdays are the hard days for me. But it gave us something to look forward to, dead square in the middle of the week, a little bit of socializing, a little bit of exercise, and then getting together in the community.
Yeah, I love that this is a strong community effort, right? It's not just people in the community who are involved in the actual riding, but you're involving the small businesses in the community by the meeting places and your routes and things of that nature. What are some of the meeting places that you've gone to in the past?
Well, usually we try to stick with places that are good for the socializing aspect. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, it really hindered us last year. But we try to stick with places that we know are local favorites, not just to the riders, but to to businesses that people like to go to. So sometimes, we'll Atwater, or we'll go to Irish Coffee, or sometimes we'll go to Champs, Little Tony's. Sometimes we'll go to Telly's. You're seeing a trend here, right?
Yeah.
So we sometimes go to those, but also, hey, we like ice cream too. We like pastries. So sometimes we'll go to those. So we actually had just arranged the other day to go to Cornwall Bakery in one of our rides this year. And, we'll probably hit Ashby's ice cream. We just try to change it up each week so it is a little different. We don't want to be going to the same type of place week after week after week. And we also want to do a different route every week. And I think that is a weird side effect of how this has become such a successful community thing, is that we are going through the Grosse Pointes and some of the surrounding communities every single week, including Harper Woods, sometimes Detroit, sometimes St. Clair Shores. But it gets people to appreciate their neighborhood at 5 miles per hour instead of 25 when they're in their car.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great way just to explore the area. And in doing so, in doing this ride, I've actually gotten to know the Grosse Pointes better than I ever thought I would. It helps you kind of know your way around really well. And at one point, you could set me down anywhere in Grosse Pointe. I had no idea where I was at when I first moved to the area. But now, I mean, I can see a corner of a curb and go, okay, I know I'm at St. Paul and Devonshire. Like, I know right away where I'm at.
That's pretty cool. So how long are your rides typically? So like if someone was to maybe talk about that, like what can people expect for, like, if they wanted to join, for how long they're going to be riding, what should they have to prepare in terms of equipment, safety, that sort of thing?
So our rides are short and at a social pace. This is not the type of bike ride where you are going to see people wearing funny shoes and clad completely in Lycra. We are not that group. This is definitely more of shorts and t-shirt kind of weather. Fair weather riders for the most part. We do have some riders that are a little stronger, that'll push it in some poor conditions, but this is a very casual, very fun, very social chit chat style type of riding. And we typically will ride, like I said, 5 to maybe 7 miles per hour. It's a pace that just about anybody can do on a bike. And we ride anywhere between 7 to 10 miles. That's it. The whole point is just to go out and have a good time. It's not, we're not going out there and setting Strava records or really tracking with our GPS and keeping track of all of our stats. We do have some riders that are like that. But they're actually usually some of our volunteers that help out. To do this ride, you just need a functioning bike, really. We ask that you show up with a bike that's in good working order. We do have some really great folks that help us out each week from Bikes, Blades, and Boards. That sometimes they come along and they help us if we have a mechanical issue. They get the person's bike up and running again. But you just really need that. We ask that you wear a helmet. Be aware of what the weather is going to be like. If it's going to rain, have a rain jacket. If it's going to be hot, make sure you bring water. And more or less, come prepared to have a good time in chit chat. I think it's one of those things where if you come to it with the right mindset, you'll really enjoy it much more than what you would if, really many other things. I mean, tell me the last time that you went running, did you have fun?
I went running.
Yeah, the last time you went running, did you have fun?
No.
No. Now just imagine you're on a bike.
Right.
Yes. You're already smiling thinking about it, right?
Yes.
You
and I think too, like you said, it's a conversational pace. It's supposed right. The Grosse Pointe Pedalers is here to just help strengthen your bond within the physical aspects of your community that I think so many of us, we do sometimes take for granted here and there, of just like, we just got to get places. We're just trying to get to our appointments. And this allows you to really slow down, take it all in with the people, the places, things of that nature.
Yeah, it is a good slowdown. It's a great slowdown, and it's perfectly placed right dead square in the middle of the week. And it lets people kind of reel back in and refocus on what they need to do for themselves. And it is refreshing to see. And I've, over the last 5 years that we've done it, we're now starting our 6th year here coming in April. That slowdown, that appreciation of it, I think a lot of people can, I don't know, be pulled to it or enjoy it, because I do see a lot of the same repeat riders. And not only do we see repeat riders, but we see those repeat riders bringing new people almost every single week, saying, hey, look, this is something that we do or that I do. And they're telling their friends, hey, you should come on out and do this. And I think when we were able to start last year during the pandemic, when Governor Whitmer had allowed larger gatherings to start occurring, and we were outdoors, we were able to observe a lot of the protocol that we knew at the time to be safe. And there was almost a sense of relief because people got to get back out into that community feel and get back out to socializing and not be staring at the same former walls that they were looking at for the last 3-4 months. It was the timing of it was great. I think a lot of people needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, looking back on the past 5 years. So like, what are some other, I think, you know, you talking about that moment of people that finally, when we were able to kind of get together a little bit, even in this outdoor setting, that's probably going to be a memorable moment for you in this group for a long time. What are some other really memorable moments over the past, you know, since you've been involved in it?
Well, there's a lot. There's always quite often after the rides, we would socialize. Before the pandemic had started, we would go out and socialize, and there's always good laughs and whatnot that we would have. Sometimes having food and having a couple of refreshments, rehydrating.
Right.
Rehydrating.
The important part.
Yeah. That always helps. That always, that's a good memory, obviously. But we've had some riders that had shown up to this maybe in our first year or second year, and these were people that were not your typical regular athletes. These were people that just said, I'm going to go ahead and just do one of these Wednesday night rides, and they came out. They did the 7-8 mile per hour pace for 7 or 8 miles, and they got done, and that was a huge push, and they were super proud. They were super happy. They enjoyed it. They enjoyed not just the bike ride, they enjoyed the exercise, they enjoyed getting out of the house, they enjoyed also socializing and having fun. And some of those folks started showing up week after week, and then they would find another group to ride with that came to it, or they'd find people that hosted other rides and they'd start doing those. And we have some people now that I know ride 3, 4, 5 times a week, that sometimes are pushing 50 to 60 miles a ride now.
Wow.
That have really helped out their health physically and mentally, just from this, and seeing how, and I think back of some of those people that have really, really embraced social cycling, or just the overall enjoyment of riding a bike. Some people, it's kind of like going back to being a kid again, and they realize, wow, this is really good. I really enjoy this. And it does something like either a mental switch or something hits, and then it just becomes a habit for people, and they don't let it go. They just keep going with it and keep going with it. We had one lady who had helped us out with volunteering for a number of years. Really enjoyed every time I got to hang out with her and ride with her. One of her first organized rides was with us. It was just going out for a neighborhood bike ride. And later on, I found out, 2 years later, she did a century. She went out and rode 100 miles.
Wow.
With some friends, and she never would have been there. She went from a neighborhood, social, completely relaxed bike ride to doing a whole century, which is 100 miles. That is no joke. That is incredible to do that. And, it's just awesome to see that. Those are my favorite memories, is when I see somebody who has benefited from it. That's why I do it every week. That's why myself and the other director, the other gentleman that helps me put these together, Stone Lesma, helps me do the organizing as well. That's why we do it. We get a kick out of it, not just the social part for us to hang out and laugh and have a couple of yucks here and there, but it's really awesome to see the effort translate into people just being in better health and happier and enjoying the community.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of leads me to my next question, but I know we've already touched on it, in bits and pieces throughout this whole interview.
We can keep going around and around.
Right. But what makes this organization, and it is very Grosse Pointe centralized, and even though you do some of the surrounding communities, what makes it so special to you about being, having this group within this Grosse Pointe community as well?
Well, I I've always liked riding bikes. I was one of those kids that when I turned 16 and I got my driver's license and I had a car, I think I put more miles on my bike that summer than I did my car. I've just always enjoyed riding my bike, and I'll probably never stop. And the cycling community is a very unique place to be. I don't really know how to describe it, but there is definitely a brotherhood and sisterhood to cycling, that it kind of starts to become family after a while, especially when you consistently ride with people and you can start to get a sense of belonging to it. So much so that, if I'm driving down the street and I see somebody who's got a flat tire on a bicycle, I can't help but pull over and try and fix the flat for them. Or if I see somebody riding down my street and their rear tire's low, I yell at them to stop so I can fill it up. Or if there's just a certain, I don't know. It's, every group's kind of got their thing, and really with riding, it just comes down to, we're always watching out for each other. In cycling, that's also one of the things too, that has to do with the safety of it. You are watching out for each other because we've all been there. We've had that broken down bike, or we just need somebody watching out for us all the time, don't we?
Yeah. And I think we're really fortunate in this area of how, cyclable it is in growth. That's a terrible way of saying it, but
it's pretty good. It was I'm trying to think of a better way.
We have such an area that makes it's really encouraging to ride your bike around here. You see people doing it all the time, and whether they are more very active cyclers, but even just casually, like just around, right? Or to run our errands, we can even do that around here. And I think that makes it really a lot more accessible for someone to even join a group like this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Riding in Grosse Pointe is really a pleasure. I've lived in other communities. I lived further north in a smaller town is where I came from. The roads really weren't set up to be cycling friendly. And also the community wasn't really understanding of somebody riding a bicycle on the road, where I came from. And then I lived on the west side of the state, and it was, when I went to college, it was very stark difference in between you were riding on campus versus riding off campus. But yeah, Grosse Pointe, as far as the cycling community goes, it's without question very good. It could be better. There are some improvements that I would like to see. I would like to see the Grosse Pointe communities in Harper Woods start to work a little bit with Detroit and connecting the bike lanes, and have the bike lanes go through Grosse Pointe and connect up to St. Clair Shores. I don't see why there isn't much reason not to at least start looking very seriously at that, and getting the 5 communities together and the city council groups together to start looking at the architecture of it, seeing what it's going to take in order to do it, do some cost benefit analysis on it. Because there are time periods where even in the best community for cycling, which I do believe Grosse Pointe is absolutely wonderful, or all the points in Harper Woods are wonderful to ride in, but they definitely could be better. I think, some marked bike lanes to increase visibility will help increase safety. It'll also just increase driver awareness that there is a very high probability that there's going to be a cyclist on this road. It can cut down on, potential accidents and sometimes, far more serious things that do sometimes happen.
You had mentioned too about some of the small businesses and organization, or other entities in Grosse Pointe that are supportive of you guys. Do you want to talk about those a little bit, that are kind of partnering with you a little bit to make this all happen?
Well, our first year, Carlos had arranged sponsorships with the group. And a lot of them, were local restaurants and bars, and some of the other, larger, long-time Grosse Pointe businesses had seen the value in it that were also members of the Grosse Pointe Chamber of Commerce. But the one that has always been consistently supportive has actually been Bikes, Blades, and Boards. They have always been an incredible supporter. The owner, one of the owners, typically rides with us and helps out with, like I said, the mechanical issues. And he's born and raised in Grosse Pointe. He loves it. He enjoys it tremendously. Some of the other ones too, I don't know, I'm kind of struggling here with this part to think of ones that have came out and supported really in the last few years, because we haven't really sought out that sponsorship.
Right.
One of the things that we've done is we really don't do any money. The Grosse Pointe Pedalers operates on zero budget. We have not spent any money. We don't take any money. There is no registration costs. There is nothing. So we don't really look for that financial support as much as we used to before. It's really purely a volunteer effort.
Yeah, that's cool.
So.
All right, so let's talk about how can people learn more about the Grosse Pointe Pedalers? When are you, I mean, I'm assuming today is not a ride day. We just got a foot of snow, but when are you guys going to start riding again?
Don't get me wrong, we got some animals.
Right.
we have some animals that will be out there today. I'm sure of it.
I believe.
But really, actually, we do everything through Facebook with the group. We post the rides typically on Saturday or Sunday from our Facebook page, which if you actually just go to Facebook and you search Grosse Pointe Pedalers, we pop up right away. And you just go ahead and you can follow us or you can like it. And then, like I said, we announce our meeting place typically Saturday and Sunday. We do a different route every single Wednesday when we ride. We meet at 6 and we ride at 6:30. There's no registration. There's no cost. It's very low key. And we just go out there and we try to have the safest ride that we can possibly have.
Excellent. Well, everyone get your bikes ready.
Get your bikes ready now. Now is the time to take your bike in for the tune-up, not the first nice day.
Right. You'll be waiting
every bike shop owner, an employee will tell you that. Get your bike in now. And because inevitably that first nice sunny day, everybody's like, oh yeah, hey, I got a bike, let's go for a ride.
Bike, yeah.
Your tires are flat or the chain's broke or the derailleur is not moving. Yeah, you got to get that bike in sooner.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you having on the GP Chamber Chats. Everyone get your bike ready and we'll see you out there.
Yeah, we'll see you out there.